Hey everyone, welcome back to the Elite Real Estate Podcast. I'm your host, Sam Popple, here with the bright blazer broker, Jared Ritter from South Missouri. So got him here on the podcast today, ready to share how he built his amazing brokerage, but we're now getting into the good stuff, his real estate investing. This is the part I get excited about. Man, you ready to tell us all your secrets, man?
Oh yeah, I'm ready. I'm an open book.
Cool. So looking ahead, you're planning to expand into larger multifamily. You're hoping to eventually be a GP in your own syndications. What is your vision for getting into the multifamily space, and what are the steps you are taking to make that transition happen?
Yeah, great question, man. And really, it's just me, growing in my understanding of how to play the game. Because I've only really done this by myself. It's no secret what I've done. I've tried to become really successful at my day job, my career as a real estate agent, real estate broker, and taking a lot of that hard earned income and pouring it into a passive vehicle, which is real estate. To me, the best investment, right? So that's what I've done. And I've been able to acquire, some pretty nice assets by doing it that way. 130, 140 doors. And, now it's just okay, well, I'm always wanting to seek bigger, seek better. And there's only so much money. I don't care how much money you make. Eventually, it's like, if you want to keep growing, like, what's the next step? And to me, that's through syndicating.
Right. So tell us a little bit about some of the deals you've done out of all those doors. How many properties is that? You can give me a rough number if it's a tough calculation.
Yeah. Well, I have my most recent purchase was a pretty big goal of mine. It's pretty sentimental as well. And I can tell a fun story if you'd like me to, but
yeah. No, definitely. We love stories.
yeah. So the most recent purchase was a 70 unit. So that's obviously over half of that, or right at half of those doors. And then my first purchase, which was largest at the time, was 24 doors. Which ended up with, selling all those first assets I was talking about with you earlier.
Mm-hmm.
But the 70, so that was a pretty cool accomplishment for me personally, because, I know we talked about going to 10X Growth Con together, and that's how we met.
Right.
So I went to, I think, 9 of the 10, and Growth Con 2, I remember that I was waiting for them to throw tickets out there, and they were still at this time trying to throw specials. So I was like, well, I know I'm going to go, but let me wait and see if they throw a special out there. So New Year's Eve, they threw a special online and said, hey, if you buy the VIP ticket, which was the highest at the time, if you buy VIP, you get to schedule a one-on-one with Grant Cardone. And I was like, click, bought it, instantly. I went to 10X, loved it. Never really heard anything. I flew back home and I was like, man, I never really heard anything about that one-on-one with Grant. So I called them, and they're like, wait, what are you talking about? And I was like, oh, it was promo, this special you guys put out there. If you buy the VIP ticket, you get a one-on-one with Grant. And she put me on hold, came back on the phone, and it was probably like, a Wednesday. And she says, can you be here Monday? Can we be back in Miami Monday? Or I can't remember if this Growth Con was at Miami or Vegas, but
Yeah.
Can you be down in Miami on Monday? And I was just like, yes, say yes and figure the rest out later. Right. So I flew down there in a few days and literally made a 24-hour trip. I was down in Miami and flew home the same day. And I met with Grant one-on-one in his office for an hour and 15 minutes.
Hour and 15. Oh, that was my first question. How long? Gave
Yeah.
So, yeah. Okay. Hour 15. That's a real one-on-one.
Yeah. It's a pretty decent chunk of time. When you think of 8-9 years ago, I guess he had a little bit more of it, not much, but it was awesome. And, one of the biggest things we did is, I tried to come prepared with the properties I owned. And at this time, I owned about, I don't know, probably 7 to 10 or 12 houses. And I was also under contract at the time with my largest purchase to date, which was a 7-unit apartment building. So I put the 7 unit on there in like italics, under contract. And so we're going down there and he's asking me, how much equity do I have in this? How much equity do I have in that? How much equity in this? And he gets down to the 7 unit and he goes, what's this one? And I was like, oh, just, 7 unit that I'm under contract with, my biggest deal so far. And he looked at me with this like typical Grant Cardone grin, and he goes, you need to stop buying this pussy shit. And he said, word for word. And
I can totally picture that.
Yeah. And he said, the next time you buy something, you need to add a 0 to it.
Yeah. Don't be a little bitch, Ritter.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah.
So for 5 years, I wrote that goal down. I have purchased a 70+ unit complex in the year, you name it. So that was a year for, close to 5 years. I wrote down every single day in my notebook. And then February of last year, I've owned this property right over a year. I got to officially cross that goal off, which was pretty huge.
That's beautiful, man. I love hearing that. And then, I mean, dude, that is such a cool way, because that's probably some accidental marketing, that one-on-one with Grant. Like that's what I'm deducting from it. The fact that it wasn't really brought up. And then you get to go back though and experience that, because I mean, being 9 years ago, I don't know what Grant was charging for an hour of his time, but I do remember probably in the last year or two where hour with Grant, $250,000. I think Alex Hormozy actually talks about how he paid Grant Cardone. I believe that's what he said, $250,000 or $100,000 for an hour of his time or something like that.
Yeah.
So
100%.
Yeah. So now to be able to get a one-on-one sit down with, I don't know if Grant was a billionaire at that point yet, but if he is now, the success knowledge was there this entire time. So I mean, that's just phenomenal. And then to hear how he just gave you that large shove. I'm not going to say push, a shove in the right direction. And like I said, I love. I got his "Don't Be a Little Bitch" wristband. I think of his. He gave us for one of the parties to go to. So that's awesome. So, yeah, that's definitely it. And I mean, and there's just oftentimes in life, you need that push, because I mean, I've been in the same shoes before where I thought I was big time when I first bought a couple houses, or I got my couple condos, and then you once you see the next level, and you have someone telling you like, yeah, you need to step it up. I mean, you need that, and I think that's really cool.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So, all right. So you've already achieved incredible success in residential real estate. Now that we're trying to step up this multifamily, you now up to the 70 units. I'm sure this is a whole different ball game than the single family life. What are some of the things that you've learned in your current real estate ventures that you'll translate once you go into the bigger and bigger syndications?
Yeah, and it's kind of funny because you hear people talk about how like Grant always says, if you can't run numbers with the big numbers, don't worry about running them with the small numbers, which is so true. Like the effort you put in to the 70 unit is just as hard or easy, or however you want to explain it, as the 7 unit. So really it's just unlocking that ability to think bigger and giving yourself that permission to think bigger. And I started small, just like everybody else. I started with that first single family house and grew the portfolio from there. But you got to start somewhere. I would just encourage people to get started. But also don't be afraid to think bigger.
Yeah. No, I mean, I think that's definitely key. And that's definitely some that if anyone's watching any of Grant Cardone's stuff, that's the main focus is bigger thinking, 10x your thoughts. 10X, yeah. No, I think that's great. So when you grow in Ritter Real Estate and expanding into multifamily, that shows you're thinking big. How do you manage that kind of growth without losing sight of the core values that made you so successful?
Yeah, I think, that's a good question, because you got to be true to who you are. And I think, money doesn't change the person. It just amplifies who you are. And, I'm probably paraphrasing 100 different people who have said that. But it's so true. Like I want all the, good people in the world to have all the money, because I know they'll do good things with it. So
right.
If, this is just simply part of my journey, part of my plan is that next thing. And I'm never satisfied either. I'm always, wanting what else is next and desiring to do it bigger. So that's where the syndicating comes in, right? Because it's like, well, if I can knock down a 70 by myself, it's also a little bit of proof in the pudding, right? And
Definitely.
so it's like, oops, sorry, I lost it. Sorry, I had a call come in.
Oh, you're good.
So then it's also like, just kind of asking what's next.
Right. Well, and I think that's so great that you did a 70 unit completely by yourself as kind of like a proof of concept. What you're doing. One thing my partner and I are doing down here in Florida right now, and specifically Escambia County, which is the county that Pensacola, Florida, is in. We've been acquiring lots for the past 2 years because we basically have kind of studied the couple counties between here and Panama City. I grew up in Destin, Florida, so I know that area well. I spent a lot of time in Fort Walton. I got restaurants all between these areas.
Right.
So we know the area well. We've kind of just studied the numbers and knew that how we could buy land here at a certain price. We can build for a certain price. They're pro growth right now in this particular county. They want to see more stuff. So it's not a lot of red tape. And so that's one of the things we're doing right now is we got our first couple builds going, and then we're about to start opening up to investors. But it's same thing. We wanted to do a couple ourselves using all of our own money. That way we can show, that we know exactly what we're doing. We're actually, even once we bring the investors on, we're actually going to be building houses that we've already built before using the same plans. So I can literally tell you, like, hey, I can build. We got one house called the Big Sam, and then we got another house called the Slim Willie. My partner's name's Will. So, we know we can build a Big Sam for. We know what we can build a Slim Willie for.
Yeah.
And like I said, we know that down. So it's like we buy the land for this. I know I can build the house for that, and so I can pretty much almost. I mean, granted, Black Swan event can tell whoever invests with me, hey, look, we'll be able to sell this house for this. And if you put in the money for the land, we'll be able to split it this way. And and I think there's so much confidence in being able to do that. That's why I did it that way, because there's a lot of people out there, and you see it all over the internet, Instagram, YouTube, where telling everybody to jump. Yeah, you got to jump right into multifamily, right into syndicating. But then you also, like over these past couple of years, especially a lot of deals outside of Austin. You've heard are now going belly up by all these brand new syndicators who didn't plan something right. I don't know what it was. If it was insurance, they didn't plan for all the new product coming on the market over there. Didn't plan the interest rates going in the future. Number of things where deals have gone south. So it's definitely, I think I always would have more confidence investing in someone who I've seen run one completely by themselves with their own money and can see the proof in the pudding. So, I mean, I think that is a great way to do that. So you've grown your company that thrives on your personal brand. As you expand further, how do you plan to maintain this touch with scaling into the larger markets and sectors when it comes to multifamily?
Yeah, I mean that's a great question. I mean, having a fun brand, especially one with bright blazers and attention grabbing and stuff like that, it's fun and everything. But of course, like if that's all it is, it's kind of a joke, So like all goes back to your fundamentals, just like basketball. You got your chest pass and your layups, right? So it's like you got to still be willing to treat people right, to be responsive, to learn your craft, and bring others to the table. So, hopefully that translates with the kind of proof of concept and being able to take those projects and as the example and meet like-minded individuals to do that syndication. So,
right. Now, as someone who's been so successful and has record growth in real estate, what advice would you give other agents or brokers that are looking to grow their business, and especially when they're starting out and trying to scale their operations?
Yeah, I appreciate that, man. And on the agent side of things, it's all about getting attention, right? And like Grant says, if they don't know you, they ain't going to flow you. So it's getting knowledge, it's being involved, it's understanding what you're doing, and putting yourself out there, asking for the business, right? If you're not number one, ask to be number two. Being involved in your community level. We always say that a contact becomes a contract when you add an R, and the R stands for relationship. So how many relationships do you have?
Wait, let's say that again. A contact becomes a contract. What is it?
When a contact becomes a contract when you add the R, and the R stands for a relationship.
Man, that is fire. Did you create that?
No, I stole it somewhere.
Whoever did, man, that's a good line. I love that.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, that is really good. And that actually applies beyond real estate. That's just any kind of business.
Yeah, exactly.
So, and here's kind of a side question before we move on to the next thing. How did you become, how did the Blazer become your brand? Teaching days of dressing fun at school, or
what's that?
I know teachers like to dress fun. Was that from your teaching days, or where'd you come up with, the Blazers?
Yeah, no, it actually didn't come from teaching. I'll give you the quick 30-second, but I was, young when I got my real estate license, like I said, junior in college. And I knew that I was like, man, I got to, be looking sharp, looking good, and competing with all these stellar agents. And I remember I was attending an awards banquet, just starting out with my mom. And I'd always wanted a charcoal blazer. Like that was like, it's in my eyes, the thing. Like, man, you were something if you ordered a charcoal blazer and you were walking around that. So I was like, oh, this banquet's coming up. I should go get a charcoal blazer. So I went to that really fancy Italian store, J.C. Penney, and I got me, a charcoal blazer. And I remember just being so excited to wear it and to walk in, and walked in the room, looked around, and instantly was deflated. I was like, man, I was supposed to like stand out and feel like this was, the new guy, the young guy that was looking good in the room. Right. And I remember just, in a way,
might as well be the best looking.
Right. Yeah. I remember blending in and not really enjoying that feeling of what I anticipated. And we all have probably felt that way before, right? So then I was like sitting there thinking afterwards, I was like, man, I should have ordered an orange blazer, which is this one right here, because it's my favorite color, the OG, right? And I was like, I've never seen somebody walk around in an orange blazer. That would have been perfect. That would have got the attention I was after. And then, of course, it did stem from there to like, oh, I could wear green, I could wear yellow, I could wear blue, and all the different colors. And they got crazier as years went by. But as you said, I was an English teacher. So the alliteration of Bright Blazer also came to me. Soon enough, I was into broker school, and Bright Blazer Broker just kind of fell into place.
The Triple B.
Yeah,
no, I love that. No, that is a great. And what would you tell someone? Because like we've talked about it. Grant Cardone talks about attention all the time. Like you said, they don't know you, they won't flow you. What would you tell someone who is a little more introverted about the importance of getting over that fear and trying to stand out? Because I'm surprisingly, I got a podcast, but I'm actually a forced introvert. I don't really love being out and talking, but I know it's important because like you said, it's to be successful in business, people have to know you and have to, know who you are, what you stand for, and know you're the kind of person that they want to support. So what would you tell someone who needs to get over that introvert spirit to step out and try to get the spotlight?
Yeah. And I think that's important because you got to play to your strengths at the same time. Like I do agree with you. You firmly need to, for lack of better words, like you said, get over it, because everybody's got to get comfortable with this. Like this isn't going away. You have to be able to click on Instagram and do a story and let the world see it. Right. And so I think that's highly important no matter what your personality is. Some people just may need to take a deep breath before they do that. I love that kind of thing. So it's a little bit more natural to me. But usually whenever, you think getting attention, and especially when you're talking to a guy wearing a crazy blazer, it's really easy to get focused on the material item. But I have an introverted real estate agent where he does a lot of handwritten notes and personalized letters. And like, to me, if you're adamant about doing that, that is also a way to stand out. And it's introverted. It's not really seeking a lot of like out there attention. I do think you have to be willing to get attention, get noise, and be loud about it. But that's perfect with his personality. It's like, wow, what a great way to stand out. And I don't know anybody who's been upset receiving a handwritten letter,
No, definitely, and I like that, because that is definitely a great alternative for someone who doesn't want to be in that spotlight. But yeah, but he's still making the connections, one on one with people. So no, that's definitely important. But I'm with you on that first part. People need to get comfortable in front of the phone, and ready to present, because I mean that's definitely how you get attention, especially in real estate.
Absolutely.
We touched on it a little bit with that mention of beyond positive thinking, but I always like to ask, are there any books that you think helped you get to where you are today? Maybe one, two, or three suggestions that really were a great impact in your life, whether it be real estate specifically or mindset, because as we know, mindset is probably one of the most important things to get people, to be to the level of success.
Yeah, and these are some popular ones. I'm an avid reader, so obviously English major I'm going to be, but so I could sit here and ponder several, but some of the big ones and popular ones for me: Rich Dad Poor Dad, Robert Kiyosaki. That's at a young age the one that really set my world on fire. Grant Cardone's 10x Rule. That was the first book I read where I thought maybe I wasn't crazy. I was like, okay, there's other people who think like this. A lot of his books are great though. Be Obsessed or Be Average, another great one by Grant. And then Dr. Robert Anthony's Beyond Positive Thinking for sure.
I think those are great. I'm gonna have to go back and see if I've listened to Beyond Positive Thinking. If not, I'm definitely gonna add that on my list. The 10x Rule is in my top five most impactful books in my life. Obviously, as a real estate investor, I love some Robert Kiyosaki, and his books are mentioned probably one out of every three guests.
Yeah, I bet.
Too. But yeah, no, the 10x rules come up a couple times, and that is a personal favorite of mine. So glad you brought that up, because I mean, I think thinking bigger is one of the things that can help everybody be more successful. Is because it's if you think bigger and you only reach a fraction of that, you're going to be a lot more successful than if you only reach a fraction of your small goal.
Absolutely, man. Absolutely.
Yeah. So you've accomplished so much. You're already planning for the future. What's next for you in Ritter Real Estate, and where do you see yourself in the next 5 to 10 years for you and your company?
Yeah, man. We want to continue to grow the brokerage, and make that into something special, growing locations, growing agent count, growing sales, all the things important to a brokerage, right? And then on the investing side, like I've mentioned, the syndication I feel like is next in my world, and it's growing with good people. I always kind of look at it this way: would you rather own 50% of a watermelon or 100% of a grape? And eventually you got to tackle big deals and do that with good people.
Yeah, that's a great quote. 50% of watermelon or 100% of a grape. Yeah, no, and I totally agree. Now, when you expand, you both your brokerage and do the syndications, do you plan on staying in Missouri with your brokerage, or do you plan on expanding bigger than that?
Yeah, so we did just get licensed in Illinois last year.
Okay.
So open to obviously wherever that takes us, and kind of let the volcano explode, and then the lava starts to expand. So we'll just kind of expand with those relationships and see where it takes us. But no, we're certainly open to it. And on the investing side, got some pretty good experience where I would feel comfortable going outside of our state lines as well.
Cool. It's still all surrounding you there in the Midwest?
Yeah, Midwest would be the easiest, to handle most likely, unless had other relationships or other areas that we visited often, or had somebody with boots on ground and that kind of thing.
Cool, man. Well, hey, if you ever look at anything in Mobile or Northwest Florida, I can be some boots over here. So
yeah, exactly,
look,
man.
You definitely have some better insurance rates over there in Missouri than you do over here in Florida.
Man, right now it's hard.
So definitely better. Man, this has been so fun. I've definitely enjoyed our talk. I'm actually wanting to make sure I'm staying in touch in case you got some syndication deals coming online. I'd be interested in possibly investing myself. But lastly, for anyone who's listening, wants to learn more about you, your business, or even join your team, where should they go to get in touch?
Yeah, easiest is Bright Blazer Broker on Instagram. As far as our real estate brokerage goes, ritterrealestate.com. Pretty easy way to find us on there and connect with us. But I'm an open book, so if I can help somebody, I would love to.
Cool. And then, I mean, I'm just going to give you an open. Any last thoughts? But anything like you'll leave everybody with, before we close out?
Yeah, man. I mean, one of the best things that ever happened in my life has been those instances like the story I shared with the 70 unit, where I was basically given the opportunity and given permission to think bigger. So if I could, give anybody that same nugget, it would be to, not care about what other people thinks. I made a joke yesterday about, walking past a construction site wearing something that looks like this. You know what I mean? It's like, you got to be okay and just smile and laugh about what people are going to think of you, what they're going to say about you, and just have fun with it. It doesn't matter. Those people don't pay your bills. You're out for you and yours. So that's my philosophy as well. I'll have anybody's back that has mine, and treat people how you want to be treated. Right. So it's just unlock that within yourself, give yourself that permission to think bigger, to know that you can achieve more. And if it's been placed in your mind, my opinion, God put that there for a reason. And if he's already placed it in your heart, then you have the tools that you can accomplish it.
Yeah, I think that's a great line to finish everyone out with. Great advice, great wisdom. Thank you so much for coming on today. I really appreciate it. I think you shared a lot of stuff for anyone who's interested in getting started as a real estate agent, wanting to build a brokerage, and then also, you're investing. And I mean, I definitely encourage people to reach out on Instagram to the Bright Blazer Broker, because Jared definitely has knowledge to share. A lot of people don't know that those 10X 360 trainings are not cheap. So I know he's definitely spent well over six figures on his team as far as educating himself and them. So that's our ongoing stuff. So major props to you, man. I love how you built your business. You grown this, and I just can't wait to see where you go in life. So thank you so much for coming.
Yes, man. No, I appreciate you having me on, man. This was a lot of fun.
Yeah. Well, guys, we appreciate you listening in. Please check us out at theeliterealestatepodcast.com. If you want to get in touch with me or shoot us a great property deal or anything you might have in the Escambia County area, there's a place on there we can go and fill that out. So go to theeliterealestatepodcast.com. We are really trying to build up our YouTube subscribers. So please share this with your friends. Please ask them to subscribe to our YouTube page. The bigger we get, the more we can help. So please share that. And then also come and see me at Clean Eats. So Clean Eats, so we're a healthy cafe and meal prep company, and we love helping people eat healthy as well as have prepared meals ready to go. So that way you can tackle all your business and investing needs and not be tied up in the kitchen. That is not something you need to be doing. So Jared, thank you so much. Thank you guys for listening, and we can't wait to see everyone on the next episode of the Elite Real Estate Podcast.